The podcast is my pulpit, and I am ready to preach the raw truth. Join me as I discuss real life, love, and teach you all the lessons I've learned along the way. Welcome to Lakita's Room. I am your host, Lakita Brewington. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Lakita's Room. I am your host, Lakita Brewington. If you all missed the last episode, I need you to go back and take a listen to that because I said something that I have to come back today and touch on that subject. I was talking about divorce and how when you're going through a divorce, it seems like there is a death, but the person is still on the earth. So you're having to learn how to navigate with this person still living while what you had together with that person no longer exists. Which brings me to today's subject. When is the funeral? Okay, because you're going around, you're grieving these things, you're grieving the loss, you're grieving the love, you're grieving the connection, the relationship, all of these things that you had with the person who is still on the earth. Now, if your person that you're no longer married to is no longer on the earth, I do apologize for that. But in my case, my ex-husband is still here. So I had to learn how to navigate that thing while he is still wherever he is, right? So today I want to teach you how to keep going, how to keep living when you're divorced and your ex-spouse is still on the earth. So let's get into it. I want to give you all a little background about how I got here. In 2017, I moved back from California. I came back to North Carolina. I was supposed to be in North Carolina for a 2-week vacation. I came here with 2 suitcases. My husband at the time and my daughter, we were set to move to Nashville, Tennessee. So we came, parked in North Carolina for about 2 weeks, where we were supposed to park here for about 2 weeks, just to get a break and wait to transition to Nashville, Tennessee. We were looking at places to live there, and I had already looked at a school and everything for my daughter to finish her senior year of high school at the time. So everything was in place, so I thought. And then life just started happening for me. I honestly, during that time period, I started to feel like a single parent again. It honestly started in California before I got back to North Carolina for that 2-week vacation. And I tried to just navigate through it. A lot of things were happening with our family at the time, different situations and things that were happening. And I honestly believe that we felt a lot of those things, and it kind of caused some discord with us. I didn't think it was enough to cause other things to happen. I honestly think some of the things that we faced with our other family members, it did cause a dent, but it wasn't the reason why we split. Okay. So fast forward, we're in North Carolina. I'm supposed to be here for 2 weeks. Life continues to happen for me. It honestly just felt like things began to fall apart. It started with the school that I tried to get my daughter into. Before I even got to North Carolina for my what I thought was a vacation, I checked the schools. I looked at the school in the city that we were trying to get to, and I figured out the date that my daughter would start her senior year of school. Had all of this stuff written down. Now, for those who do not know me, I am a planner to a T. Everything's written down. I'm trying to follow it to A and to Z. And if I deviate, I have a problem. I need to learn how to relax, right? So I wrote this stuff down. I got to get her into school. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. She was even looking at colleges that she wanted to enroll in after she finished her senior year in Tennessee. Well, needless to say, that didn't happen, right? So I'm in North Carolina, supposed to be vacationing. And I found out that the school that I wanted my daughter to go to, the school had already started. Now, I promise you, I checked online and the date was completely different from what I found out when we got back in North Carolina. So that's strike one against me. And then life just continued to happen for us. It was just honestly nonstop arguments and discord. And we weren't at each other's throats, nothing violent or anything. It was just tensioned because we were in someone else's house. We were living with my parents, it just felt like 8 is enough, or full house, if you will. It was a whole lot of us in my parents' house at the time, right? So it was a lot going on, and we really didn't have time to sit down and talk about what was happening with us. At least I don't feel like we had that time. So things just continued to get worse for us, right? And what happened, I'll say about, I think we got through that year. It was rocky, but we got through it. My ex-husband at the time was on the road, so he began to be gone from my parents' home a lot. So we really weren't seeing each other. And so I started to feel even more like a single parent. And as time progressed, he ends up coming off of the road, and he decides to get a job. And at this point, I hadn't seen him in a long time. So when he does start coming back around, it just felt different. And we honestly got to a point where we were discussing separation at that time. I sought pastoral counseling and just decided that I'd give it one more go. So we sat down, we talked in a park, and we just decided that he would go ahead and go to Nashville, Tennessee. The goal was he was going to apply for a job, continue to do the music thing, but search for a full-time job. He was supposed to do that, get things ready for myself and my daughter so that we could be a family again. We could move forward. We were settled on that. So I thought, I redo his resume, we get him to Nashville, and I'm doing jobs here and there. I picked up a temp job. I was still doing massage therapy, just trying to make my marriage work. So needless to say, it didn't work. And we ended up separating, and ultimately we ended up getting a divorce. Now, my frustration with this whole matter, I felt blindsided. I knew I started feeling like a single parent. And then, of course, I'm a dreamer. I had another dream. Yes, another dream. During this particular time, I dreamed that I was at my ex-husband's funeral. My daughter and myself were sitting on a row with his dad. I couldn't really see anyone else in the church. I knew we were in a big church in the town where I'm from. So we're at his funeral. There is no body. I kid you not. There's no body there. There's no casket. I just knew that we were at his funeral. We had on black. And I stand up to give words at my ex-husband's funeral. And during the time, I'm just talking about how everyone has issues. I was talking a lot about mental health and how people are not perfect, right? And then I wake up. So of course, I prayed about it, and then I sought counseling. I reached out to my mentor, telling her, I don't know what this means. I don't know if it means this is the death of my marriage or the actual death of my husband. I didn't know what it meant. So I dreamed about this before we ended up separating and getting our divorce. I wanted to put that out there. So ultimately, my marriage, it didn't work. And I became very upset with God because I felt like God wasted my time. I told you I'm a planner. I asked God for permission before I even dated my husband because I was tired of doing the dating scene. I got tired of just going out with this person, talking to this person, and it wasn't going anywhere. So I said, God, don't send anyone else who's not my husband. So when I got together with my ex-husband at the time, I just knew that it was it. We had a lot in common. He went to church more than I did, right? It just fit. And he had a great relationship with my daughter. He met my daughter when she was in the first grade, and they still have a relationship now. So I'm very grateful for that. So of course, I had an issue with God because I felt like he wasted my time. So I'm going back and forth with God, like, why in the world would you allow me to put this much time in with the person and it doesn't work out, right? So I'm navigating this thing. I was really upset with God and I told God, you saw this happening. You knew this was going to happen. You knew that I was going to end up being divorced, and I don't appreciate it. And that's the thing, right? I had to learn in this situation that God does know the end from the beginning, but you also have to realize that people are responsible for their own choices. Yes, God knew that I would no longer be with my husband. Yes, God knew the things that would happen to me along the way. But I have to also step in there and say that God did not make my husband make the bad choices that he made in our marriage. And I'm not going into detail with that. Just know that things happened that ultimately gave me confirmation about being separated and being divorced from my husband. Okay. And I'll leave it at that. But I was very upset with God, and I had to realize that my ex-husband was responsible for the choices that he made. He made the decisions to make choices that ended our marriage, not God. I had to put that out there because a lot of times we blame God. I did the same thing, but I really had to sit with that thing and realize that he was responsible for his own self, which leads me to my first point. You have to allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling and whatever it is that you're processing that is going to help you get through the depth of your marriage. Okay, feel it. If you're angry, feel it. If you're mad, if you're ticked off, if you don't understand what's going on, if you find yourself confused and you're very upset, I want to say you should be, because this is your life that's ending. Your life that you know as normal is no longer in existence. So you have to allow yourself to feel those things, and it does not feel good. I can assure you of that. It's not going to feel good. But if you bury that pain, if you put that pain on the shelf, if you hold on to it, eventually you are going to explode. Okay? So feel it. Sit with it. Acknowledge how you're feeling. And I can already tell you that God is very much aware of how you're feeling. He's very much concerned that you are hurting. Even when you don't necessarily feel God's presence, he's right there with you in the thick of it. Okay. And I'm telling you from experience, when I was at one of my lowest points, I had a person at the time, they lived in another state. They called me. I didn't answer the phone because I was at a point where I was getting off of work and I was going home to lay in the bed because I didn't want to deal with what I was going through. I just wanted to sleep it away. I would go to work. I would cry before I went to work, do my work, get off work, cry some more, get in the bed, sleep it away because I didn't want to feel anymore. So this person at the time, when I didn't answer the phone, they text me, this long message telling me my whole life story from the last couple of months leading up to my divorce. And I had not told this person anything, which is why I'm reminding you that God is concerned about you. If you find yourself in that space where you're hurting and you don't really know how to process, you don't know what to do with that pain, he is concerned. So this person basically told me just all of the things that I was talking to God about that gave me peace. Even though I was hurting, it gave me peace, and it let me know that God was with me, that God was listening. Even though I was hurting, even though I was angry with God, he was right there with me in it. Somebody needs to hear that today. God is with you in it, even in the hurt, even in those painful places where you know how sometimes you can pick a scab. It's still fresh, right? So you pick that scab and it's bleeding and it's open. That's how I felt. And that may be how you're feeling, but you have to know and you have to believe that God is right there with you in it. I can assure you of that. Okay. You also have to realize that you have to seek out wise counsel, seek out people who you can trust. Okay. And I will say, don't bleed on everybody, because some people are going to take what you're going through. Some people are going to take that experience and they're going to run with it. Some people are going to say, see, I told you shouldn't have hooked up with him. I told you shouldn't have married him. You're going to have to be very wise on who you talk to, because everybody's not going to take your cares and your concern to heart. They're not going to take them seriously. You're going to have some people who may be single, they may be bitter, They may want to say, I told you so, throw things in your face. You shouldn't have married him. You're going to have to tune those kind of people out. And you're going to have to get around a circle of wise people. It may be someone who may have gone through a divorce and they've healed from it. It may be pastoral counseling. It may even be professional counseling. I will tell you now, I believe in Jesus and therapy. I did both and I still do both because I want to make sure that my spirit, my soul, my mind, my body is intact. So I needed that. I sought pastoral counseling. I sought the guidance of my mentor before I even got divorced. And I also sought professional counseling. The point I'm making is you may need more than one method to get the healing that you're seeking. And that's okay. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you get this pain and that you get this load off of you. If you carry it, I'm telling you, you run the risk of exploding and you don't have time for that. You're already dealing with enough. So you don't have time to implode. That's the better word. You don't have time to implode. You have to release that pain that you're dealing with. Okay. Allow yourself to grieve it. Allow yourself to feel it. Seek the wise counsel. And my last point I want to make to you all, you are going to have to clean up your surroundings. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm glad you asked. When I went to California, I didn't go back to California after my divorce until 3 years later. So all of my things are packed up. They were packed up in storage. Now, COVID happened right after my divorce. So it took me a minute to even get on a plane to get back to California to get my things. So when I got there, I was beginning my healing process. But when I got back to California, it's like everything started all over again. I'm looking at memories. I'm looking at the life that we built in California. I'm looking at wedding pictures. I'm looking at clothes, looking at furniture, everything. And this wave of emotions came over me. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. I wanted my ex-husband to feel some of the pain that I felt. Now, I will tell you, Saved Lakita stepped right off of her soapbox, and I cussed him out. And I'm going to say, y'all can judge me if you want to, but I'm sure y'all have said and done a lot worse, and you weren't willing to admit it, but I will admit it, okay? I failed, okay? I didn't fall. Let me clear that up. I didn't fall. I jumped right on out there. And the funny thing is, I prayed on that plane, God, help me to carry myself with grace. I really wanted to be graceful about this thing. But when I saw that Negro, I'm going to tell you, all bets were off. I got to cussing, and I thought that was going to make me feel better, but it didn't. And what really set me off, he apologized. He looked at me and just said, I'm sorry. And I just exploded because I'm like, what are you sorry for? You're apologizing, but I don't know the extent of all that you have done. It would be different if you're saying, I did this, but the fact that I had to find out certain things that ended our marriage, I had to find out about those things instead of hearing them from him. That really set me off because I felt like he was giving me a generic apology. So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at all of this stuff, and I gave him photo evidence. No, you're going to throw this stuff away because I want you to hurt like I'm hurting. I cussed him out. I'm giving him all this stuff. And at the end of the day, when we get the storage cleaned out, I look at him and I said, you know what? I thought cussing you out would make me feel better, but it didn't. And it really didn't. I was still left with that pain, right? So let's get to my last point, you all. Clean up your surroundings. And I'm saying that because you cannot heal when you are building a memorial around what's happened. And if you're not married and you're listening to this broadcast, you may have had a breakup with your significant other, right? You may find yourself dealing with all of these things, but if you really want to heal, you are going to have to declutter the space you're in. You're going to have to declutter your mind, and you are also going to have to declutter your surroundings. You don't need a picture of bae or ex-bae or ex-husband around if you are trying to heal. You don't need to be stalking their social media page. You don't need to be driving around their house to see this girl, to see this person. You don't need to be going to that favorite restaurant if you know he goes there to watch the game or to kick it with his fellas or what have you. You're going to have to develop a new routine, and you're going to have to focus on yourself. What do you need? right? What do you need to get through this process? And for me, I had to just get him out of my space, right? It wasn't that I was trying to be hateful or vindictive, but I told him I cannot heal and I'm seeing everything you're doing. So what am I going to do? Block, 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 block. I sure did. And I meant that thing. And we're on good terms now. With speak, we're cordial. We've talked several times over the years. I feel like we are in a good civil place. Everyone may not get to that point, and that's completely understandable. But for me, I had to set those boundaries because I knew that Lakita had to heal. And Lakita could not heal if she was seeing everything that was still going on, if she was still in that same space. I knew that it was going to keep me in a dark place that I didn't want to be in. So take that into consideration. You may want to stay friends with yours on social media, that's fine. But for me, I could not because my heart couldn't take it. I built this life with the person. So I don't want to see your highlight reels when I know the real deal behind the scenes, when I know what's happened with us, when I know how bad you hurt me and how I felt about all of that. I just wanted closure. So I started with the social media. And I will say this, you all, this is not in my notes. For some, you may not get complete closure for what you're looking for. You may never get a full answer for why you're divorced or why you're separated, why your marriage ended. I can't say why mine ended. I just know that choices were made and it was hurtful, but I can't say I got a full closure that I was looking for. And he's apologized again several times. But I think in that case, when you marry someone and you have that connection, I don't think you'll ever get the closure that you're seeking because you're grieving things that you dealt with in your past while you were with that person. And you're also grieving what could have been, right? For me, I was grieving the loss of the twins that I wanted to have with him. We had already picked out the names. I was grieving the loss of us going on the red carpet, us being on award shows, us making music together, us doing life together. I grieved all of that stuff and what could have been. I think that was very tough for me. I had to sit with that for a while. And it honestly took me a few years. I've been divorced 3 years now. I had to take the first year to be mad. I was mad at God. I really was. So I really had to focus on getting all of that rage out of me. I had to focus on getting my relationship back right with God. So I spent that first year talking to God. I spent my second year just getting myself together and figuring out, okay, how am I going to do life without this person? So I spent my second year really getting to know Lakita again and figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like, because I had gotten so used to playing the role of everything else except for Lakita. I was being a wife, I was being a mom, I was being a chef, okay? I was working the pole behind the scenes. My married people, y'all know what's up. I was doing everything that I had to do, right? So to put all of this stuff on the shelf for God to take me out the game when I was in there doing the thing, I felt some type of way, right? And you may be feeling some type of way, but I can promise you it will get better, okay? So if you have to cry right now, it's all right. It's okay. Things are going to change. Sit with that grief. Allow yourself to feel it, okay? Seek wise counsel. If you have an inner circle, you might want to pull up on them, sis, okay? And guys, if you're listening to this podcast and you're going through the same thing, find your brothers that can help you navigate through the divorce that you're going through. And lastly, clean up those surroundings, all right? Hope I didn't bore you guys. And I hope I'm not coming across as a bitter Betty because I can promise you, Lakita is healed and I want to help you do the same thing. Thank you guys for hanging in with me in Lakita's room. We will talk soon. Take care. Hey, loves, it's okay to feel that pain, but don't get stuck in it. If you're still finding that you would like someone to talk to, I recommend that you start with your employee assistance program at your job that may offer free or discounted sessions for you and your family. They may also help you find a therapist that can help you navigate through other life challenges that you may be facing. Okay, so you do have options. I want you to take advantage of the ones that you do have. You can keep up with me on all social media outlets at Lakita's Room. And until next time, we'll talk soon.